What's up? Welcome in to Foxborough Rush. He's Travis Thomas. I'm George Balekji. T, how we doing today, my man?
I'm great, man. Hey, look, it's Victory Monday. When do we get to say that? Besides never.
A little post-victory show. I'm with you. You know what?
Come on.
As much as I want good draft position, as much as I'm critical of this team, which I still don't think is that great, I'll take victory shows. And two of our last three have been post-victory shows. Patriots beating the Bears 19-3. We'll break all of that down. Keagan Stiefel will join the show as well. And we'll go and take a look into the future because with this win, the Patriots jumped from having the number 1 overall pick to the 7th overall pick before the Dolphins get into playing their Monday night game. That's a big difference, not necessarily in who they may get in the first round, but I believe of how much they can get out of the draft with trading away a top 3 pick. T, Patriots win 19-3. They completely keep that Bears offense in check. Caleb Williams looks lost. The defense totals 9 sacks. Drake May looked good, didn't have to put on the Superman cape. Important win, in my opinion. What did you take away from this victory by the Pats?
Look, I took away that Gerard Mayo is not the worst coach in the NFL because, honestly, like the worst coach in the NFL coaches the Bears. And that team has quit on that coach. So I learned a lot about Gerard Mayo as a coach in this game, to be honest with you. I thought the Patriots came out high energy on the road. That should be a tough game for them. But they matched, well, they actually exceeded the Bears' energy. The Bears were lifeless from the beginning. And I just thought that the defense threw the kitchen sink at Caleb. You got to give credit to Gerard Mayo for that. I thought offensively they finally ran the football and were committed to running the football. I wanted them to be better in the red zone and get touchdowns and not as many field goals. But clearly this team believes in their head coach. They have not quit on Gerard Mayo. They're playing hard for him. And that game is evidence of that. So seeing Gerard Mayo against an actually terrible coach gives me more confidence in Gerard Mayo moving forward.
I like that you point that out. This team hasn't quit on Gerard Mayo yet because I think it's significant. Look, Patriots won 19-3. That Bears team and that offense looks absolutely dead. And they're not the worst roster in the NFL, but they look like one of the worst run teams.
That's right.
So is this a high-quality win? No. But they won 19-3. And what did the Patriots go out and do? They showed competent, smart, well-executed football. 35 seconds before the half, they absolutely steal 3 points in that game. That deep backside dig they complete, Drake May to Kayshon Boutte. No way does this Patriots team from a couple weeks ago spike the ball, get everyone set in time after a long completion, and spike the ball and get 3 points. Well, they showed that. On key third downs, Alex Van Pelt scheming up smart plays, giving gimme plays to Drake May. That's important for a young quarterback. Their lone touchdown, playing off the run game, smart scheme to Jalen Polk, hold the block and leak out. And, hey, that pours confidence into your guy. And, by the way, this pass rush was absolutely dead for the Patriots. That's why they went out and got Yannick Ngakoue off of waivers. They want to figure out if they can find anybody that can generate pressure. But guess what? This Bears offensive line, without 4 starters, they total 9 sacks, 22 pressures. DeMarcus Covington dialing up well-timely blitz play calls. This Patriots team saw a bad team in front of them, showed up more locked in, more well-executed, and it's a very low standard, but it's competent, smart, good football. I credit Gerard Mayo. I credit his assistant coaches. I credit the players to execute because they went out and did what they have to do. Now, can it be consistent? But this is a building block in the right place because when they get back together on Monday, you know what they say when they watch a film? Look what we do when everyone does their job. We win games and we put ourselves in a position to win. And Drake May did not have to wear the Superman cape.
That's right.
He did just enough and made the right plays at the right time. And you know what this Patriots team, why they've been called soft. Well, they held the Bears to under 75 rushing yards. They ran for over 140 yards themselves, where the running backs finally had life, and they were really good in the kicking game and special teams. Guess what? Tough football team we saw on the field, and a team that got a win. Bears team, like you said, Trav, a lot of heads I think should roll at Hollis Hall. Last name Eberflus. Last name Waldron. Well, guess what? With a bad team in front of them, the Patriots got right, and for once, they weren't the get-right game.
Listen, Eberflus and Waldron should be fired today, in my opinion.
They're not a good. They have talent. They're not doing a good job. That's not a well-coached team.
Absolutely awful. Caleb's regressing. And by the way, you know, I said this during the game to you, and you laughed, but I thought they should have been fired in game. Like, by the time you got to the fourth quarter, George, they they kept showing the crowd shots. I mean, those poor Bear fans. I've always respected the Bears as a franchise.
There was nothing in the stands.
Oh,
they were just sitting there.
Lifeless. What were they going to cheer for? What were they going to cheer for? They couldn't do anything offensively. Caleb, every time he dropped back, George, there were Patriots in his backyard. I mean, it was just nothing that could be done.
Yeah. You know what's the worst thing is like they're cutting to the shots and it's everyone just sitting there.
Yeah.
They're not even like pissed off. Let me put down a beer.
No.
They're not even leaving. They are so frustrated and so dejected.
Yes.
They don't want to do anything.
They were dead
They don't
inside.
know what to do.
Yes.
They could not believe what they were seeing. At home for the Bears.
Yeah.
Look, Caleb Williams was really good the last 3 drives in that Commanders game. 3 of the last 4 drives. All scoring plays. They're up 18-15.
Yeah.
Sign of bad coaching, what Tariq Stevenson was doing. They complete that Hail Mary completely flat against the Cardinals. Then they do this.
Yep.
Don't even score a touchdown. This Patriots defense was not good. They couldn't do anything against them. They couldn't run the ball when that's a recipe for success. This Patriots defense is not good against a run.
Yeah.
Bears couldn't run the ball. This is a fire everybody game.
Yes.
Clear out the whole house.
You're at home. It should be a get-right game for you. You're absolutely right. I mean, this Patriots defense looked like some of the Super Bowl Patriot defenses. It was unbelievable. 9 sacks. Like, are you kidding?
They had
no life at all.
They had 5 sacks over the last 4 games. 25 pressures over the last 4 games. 22 pressures, 9 sacks.
Bro.
Brendan Schooler, Del Pettis getting home.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams never looking comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, an absolute goose egg. 16 for 30, 120 yards.
Oh.
Yeah, bad.
Yeah.
And he was kept in check in the pocket, too.
He's got to be sore, man. He was taking so many shots, too, bro. Like, I mean, he was just getting the hell beat out of him. And listen, you brought up that Hail Mary. That was it. That torpedoed their season.
That's it.
They had won 3 straight going in that game. That Hail Mary ruined them. They have not recovered. And that shows you a terrible coach, too. A coach that can't get your team to, like, relock in, recalibrate. You can't do it. You lost them, and you can't get them back. It's because you suck, Matt Eberflus. You're going to get fired today.
The Patriots are allowing 141 rushing yards to opposing running backs their last 7 games. Over 5 yards a carry.
Man.
DeAndre Swift, 59 rushing yards, 3.7 yards per carry. I don't think anyone saw the Patriots winning this game. Let's bring in a guy. Let's find him out if he saw him win. It's Keagan Stiefel of Nesson.com. As always, we love to have him on Rush. Whoa!
What's going on
Bro,
here?
am I about to get... All right, so for those listening...
What's going on here?
Keegan is dressed like he's ready to be part of Doug McCrary's crew in The Town Part 2.
That's what you see?
Black beanie. Yeah, dude.
I don't see that. I feel like he's in a cabin in Vermont. Like, it looks like Keegan cuts down trees and then eats flapjacks.
Well, but then like he's pulled over on the side of the road dealing with tire issues. You pull over to help him. He pulls out a crowbar and says, "Give me all the money in your wallet." Keegan hasn't said a word yet, dude.
Keegan looks like he's gonna churn some butter and till the lands.
Keegs, great to have you on Rush, bro. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I would say
Keegan, don't go yet. We're not done. We're not
done yet, bro.
So Keegan. No, go. I'm joking.
Do you make your own bread, Keegs? What's going on here?
I would have said it's great to be here, but I'm regretting every choice I made to get to this point. I've got an 8 Mile Part 2 audition coming up. So
there we go.
You guys can't seem to appreciate that. It's fine. You know, the heat's busted. It's a little cold here. I'm just trying to stay warm during the show, but it's fine. No, it's fine. We'll hear the jokes and maybe talk about the Patriots at some point. Who knows?
Do you make moonshine in your bathtub?
In this conversation, I've been from Boston, West Virginia, Vermont, Detroit. Listen, guys,
Keegan looks
I'm wearing a beanie.
Keegan looks like the kind of guy when you're walking down the street, he pops like a radio you could just rip out of an old Honda Civic, and he starts jimmying the window, unlocks the door, grabs it, and run. You're like, did that guy really do that for like a $40 radio?
I'm crying, bro.
Both of your wallets are going to go missing. Just to play into the character.
Keegan, you know what you look like? You look like someone that's going to be rubbing shoulders with Matt Eberflus really soon because he's not going to have a job and he's going to need to be jumping radios out of old Honda Civics. No, he's going to be fine. He's going to get severance.
Oh, God.
I'll see him in the unemployment line at some point.
Yeah, right? Man, all right, I get it. Let's talk football. Patriots won 19-3. Keegs, as always, we like to start it with the simple man. What jumped out to you about this performance by
what
the Pats?
happened?
Don't beat me up, please. Don't beat me up. Okay, go.
On a serious note, to talk football, the Patriots for 2 years have had teams beg to hand them wins. You know, we saw it throughout Bill Belichick's last season and throughout Gerard Mayo's first season, where they've been in position to win, they've had opportunities, and they've just fumbled them away. Mm-hmm. And I think today, more than any other game, they showed that they have the capacity to just take those wins. You know, they're not so bad to where they just can't win NFL football games. Mm-hmm. They can. It's just a matter of execution, putting together the right game plans, and avoiding the backbreaking mistakes. And they did all three of those things against Chicago. You saw Chicago do the opposite, where the game plan coming in was terrible. They did not run the ball nearly enough when going up against one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. They didn't execute. They had injuries across the offensive line, which is something we've talked about with the Patriots. You know, they dressed 7 offensive linemen. The best one who did dress went down in the first half. So they've got 4 guys playing out of position with 3 backups. It was a shit show, for lack of a better phrase, for Chicago. And the Patriots took advantage of everything that was in front of them. They haven't done that throughout the last couple of years, and I think this was a step in the right direction, because a team handing you a win and you took it, which is all you can say for a bad football team to be excited about. That they took what was in front of them.
You're going to lose games. You're not going to win.
Right.
There are games you're not expected to win, but the opponent leaves just enough, and can you win that? Like, bad teams will win some games they're supposed to. They're going to lose games that they're not expected to win. But there are those games where the other opponent, their best doesn't show up. Mm-hmm. Can your best just be there, and can you just be better? And they did that, and I think that's important. And quick PSA on behalf of the producers, Keagan, no 4-letter words, please, because they have to do that in post-production. All right, Trav, go with your question.
Well,
you're good. I've done it before, but
it's unfortunate, because I was going to drop an S-bomb right here, because
I mean, at this point, let's all do it.
All the hype, obviously, Keegs, leading up to this game was about the quarterbacks, and we know Drake and Caleb will always be tied together because of the draft. And sure enough, one of the quarterbacks got their ass kicked in, and then the other one I thought was just efficient. You know, there was no great quarterback play in this game. Yeah. What did you make of that matchup, Drake against Caleb Williams in this one?
Yeah, for Caleb, you know, I don't think anybody wasn't a fan of his coming out of the draft, and I was a huge fan. I still think he's going to be a great player. But coming into this game, he really didn't have much of a chance at all. Like I mentioned the offensive line thing. That can't be overstated. You've got both of your starting tackles out, your primary backup tackle out, your best guard goes out in the first half. Like, they really didn't have much of a chance to be successful in the first place. And when you have all those issues, I would have expected them to run it more. They didn't. That goes back to the coaching issue that you guys talked about earlier. So for him, I don't think you can really evaluate him as a whole during this game. Sure, he missed on some throws, but he was also running for his life back there. You know, you've got Brendan Schooler out there getting sacks. Like, I'm sure they didn't see that coming. You know, they mixed up the looks, a lot of different things coming at them. So for him, I kind of just throw that away. You can't really evaluate Caleb Williams' performance because he wasn't put in a position to win. Mm-hmm. For Drake May, he made that big mistake, and from that moment forward, he did what he had to do to help his team win. Mm-hmm. You know, he was consistent with the ball placement. He was smart with his decisions after the interception in the first half. He obviously, you know, he just didn't see that linebacker, and he threw it right to him. It was a play that you can't have no matter if he's a rookie quarterback or not. So no excuses on that. But moving forward after that, he played really well, I would say, and he just took what was in front of him. And the bigger thing that we heard during the broadcast, the Fox sideline reporter said that, you know, he talked to the offense on Wednesday and just said, I was not a fan of the way that they were practicing, or we were practicing as a group, and I wanted to just get up there in front of them and have a conversation and get on the same level with everybody on the offense.
Yep.
And then after the game, from what we heard from Jalen Polk and some of the offensive linemen and Alex Van Pelt and Gerard Mayo, that was here. And Drake said, you know, it was something that I thought they could just respect, me being honest with them and trying to send the right message. And they clearly respected it, and they took it to heart, and they went out there and executed as well as they have all season. So bigger than anything, the leadership aspect of this from Drake May, I think, it's the biggest part.
Yeah, that jumped out too when he started talking about that. And he's like, didn't like how we were practicing. And even later on in the post-game presser too, he addressed of the execution for them to get that field goal right before half.
Yeah.
Something we've been practicing, something we need to execute. And that's a play, again, Keegan, I go back to watching them on that drive. I hated the timeout usage. I hated the run play call to JaMychal Hasty that went nowhere. Like, why are you doing that? Why are you burning a timeout?
Right.
Deep completion on a backside dig to Kayshon Boutte over the middle, like everything you don't want to do when you don't have timeouts. He gets tackled 10 seconds left. I'm like, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. They're not going to be set. And they do. That's progress. That's what's important with this team. What jumped out to you about the run game? Because finally, we saw Ramondre Stevenson return to being a guy that is an impact player on the field. Ramondre Stevenson, 20 rushes, 74 yards. He had 82 rushing yards total his last 3 games. And Keegan, to me, the big part for Ramondre Stevenson was that he had just a little over half of his rushing yards after contact. Compared to the last 2 games, all his yards were after contact.
Right. Yeah. Continuity on the offensive line. That was a big thing that we were kind of freaking out about during the week. The Patriots moved Mike Onwenu to left guard during the week, Wednesday and Thursday practice. So everybody kind of sounded the alarms. They're going to move him again. They don't need to make a change, but they're going to do it anyway. It's going to cause problems in front of Ramondre Stevenson and Drake May. And, you know, the one opportunity that they had to keep the continuity and keep that group in front of them, they're going to fumble away. And then they didn't. During pregame warmups, we saw they were going to roll with the same unit that they ended last week with. And I think that was a big part of the game plan where you had the same group working together and you were able to work on these duos and these double teams and the outside zone stuff. So having 5 guys play together and build a little bit of familiarity is such a big thing that I think gets overlooked a lot of the time. And they're starting to have that. This was just the second time this season they've carried over an offensive line grouping as a whole. And it clearly worked out in their favor, not just running the ball, but also throwing the ball, because they had a few lapses in pass protection to where other guys were able to step in and kind of make up for that. And obviously Drake May's legs. But as a whole, the big thing was continuity of the offensive line, keep everybody together, and move forward in a direction that they've already been moving, not having to start from scratch.
Yeah, it's even big. You think about it. Like, if they carried this same 5 or wanted to start them last week, because this is the 5 they ended with. You started them last week against the Titans. Maybe something's different there in a game they lose in overtime. Hey, make sure to check out the latest episode of Foxborough Rush. We have new episodes dropping every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. This is Monday's episode. Catch Wednesday and Friday wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. And make sure to head over to Nesson's YouTube page, hit the subscribe button, and watch us there as well. Again, that's Foxborough Rush, wherever you get your podcasts. And Keeks, what did you make of the defensive dominance up front, really? And we saw what the splits were for Caleb Williams. He was under pressure around 40% of his dropbacks. He was blitzed 54% of the time. And a majority of the Patriots' sacks came off the blitz. But overall, that play up front to shut down the run game of DeAndre Swift and to wreak havoc on Caleb Williams while also keeping him contained, Keegan.
Yeah. Anthony Jennings, I can't say enough of. I've sprinkled his name here and there throughout the season just because he's such a solid run defender that there's only so much you could say really about a guy who's pretty good at setting the edge. Mm-hmm. But he came out today and had maybe the best game of his career. 2 sacks, set the edge perfectly. DeAndre Swift was just not able to get to the edge and get to the sideline and turn the ball upfield really throughout the game. So big game from him. And then another name, Jeremiah Farms. I came on this podcast. You guys weren't here, unfortunately. It was me and Sean McGuire, and we talked about the guys who disappeared throughout the season, guys we expected to hear more from, and we just hadn't. And I kind of took Jeremiah Farms to task. I said, you had a big preseason. You made this roster. People kind of expected something out of you. And he had done nothing through 7 and 8 weeks. And then all of a sudden, he comes out of nowhere. Jacqueline Roy goes down with a neck injury, so they kind of just got to throw him out there, not just on pass rush situations, but throughout the game. He ends up with a couple run stuffs. He's part of a couple sacks. Huge game from a guy who maybe not a lot of fans know the name, but I think we'll see more of him moving forward. And then the big thing that we talked about earlier was the offensive line. Yeah. Chicago I think us 3 would have done a better job in the interior than they did. Keon White had a bounce-back game. He had a few weeks without any sacks, so he got back on the board for the first time since week 2, I believe.
Yep.
And then Brendan Schooler being used as the spy really great idea. Like, all right, let's take our best athlete and match up with their best athlete in the backfield and make sure that he can't make off-schedule plays. They did that. Schooler ends up with a couple pressures and a sack. So really good game plan by the Patriots, and they took advantage of what they were able to take advantage of, which was the offensive line being down.
Keegs, how about this? We got a Jalen Polk sighting. I mean, he didn't have the greatest game you ever saw, but he did have a touchdown. What do you think that does for his confidence moving forward?
Yeah, that touchdown was just all scheme, right?
Yeah.
George talked about it earlier where they ran the same play on back-to-back plays, except the second time, instead of keeping him as a blocker, he leaks out. He's wide open for a touchdown. So
right.
Alex Van Pelt, who I've taken to task week after week,
Same.
Round of applause. Well done. You know, that's a good design. You're able to easy pitch and catch for 2 rookies. Mm-hmm. So that's awesome. But I want to see what happens moving forward.
Yeah.
Jalen Polk, I'm a firm believer that all of this is mental. I think he's a good football player.
Yeah.
I think he's the kind of receiver that any team would take because, you know, he's big, physical. Usually he can make contested catches, but there's just been something about the rookie year that's really kind of hampered him, and it's the mental mistakes and the holding penalties, stuff like that that's really hurt him throughout the early half of his rookie year. So I want to see if he can build on that. They get him an easy target, an easy touchdown. Now moving forward, these, you know, for the love of the game routes, is he going to continue to run those and get other guys open?
Right.
Are they going to scheme him open a little bit more and get him involved? That's the stuff I want to see. But a really good bounce back week for him after a really hard month and a half.
Yeah, it's big confidence in the kid. Just get the football in his hands, especially in the end zone.
Yep.
And that's exactly it. It's like key plays, even the drive that ended in a punt. It's 3rd and 1. It's 3rd and 3. How is he getting Pop Douglas open? And what are the reads that he was providing Drake May with? We saw 1, 2, 3 level reads all on the right side. Come through on the next 3rd down. It's 3rd and 3. You see a 1-2 level read. Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper, shallow and deep. But it's Drake May on 3rd down. You know he's going to throw it. And you have him looking to his left, and he goes 1-2, gets a ball out quick. That's what's important. And we even saw it. You mentioned it. We saw 3 bad throws from him to start the game. Like high danger throws, I'd more give them, where it's on the far sideline, the right sideline. You're watching on TV. We saw it almost touchdown to KJ Osborne.
Yep.
We saw a completion to Austin Hooper. We saw him force that ball to the linebacker. You're learning. NFL linebackers are different than NCAA linebackers. This is a team that's still going along. And Drake May, a guy that's important, where on Wednesday he spoke about taking care of the football, living to play another down, just knowing to take what the defense gives you. You mentioned it, Keegan. I agree. There was that shift from him of let me go from trying to play the hero ball to also let me just take what the defense gives me. What did it say to you about the Patriots 19-3 win, Joey Sliffer for 4 on field goals, Ramondre Stevenson running well, but more importantly, this is a game they won without Drake May needing to be the offense?
Yeah, that's like I said earlier, the big thing coming out of it for me is the leadership aspect of he was able to make a decision that I don't need to be the hero. I don't need to make every play. I need to put everybody else around me in positions to succeed. That's exactly what he did. So I think that's all you're really looking for out of a rookie quarterback, especially a first-round pick, because believe it or not, they're all talented. They're all good at football. It's just whether or not they can make the right decisions and they can play within the scheme to help the team win. If Drake May throws for whatever it was, 160 yards every week, and they end up winning, I'm sure the Patriots will be fine with it. If he keeps throwing for 300 with a couple interceptions, a couple touchdowns, and they're losing, you got a problem. So the fact that he was able to make the decision to where he was going to play in the scheme, he was going to make the right reads, he was going to throw it away when he had to throw it away, that's the big stuff that you want to see out of a rookie quarterback. The first half interception was tough to see. You thought, oh no, here the train's going to come off the tracks here.
Yeah.
And the exact opposite happened. So you can't be happier with the response from Drake May after the interception as a whole in this game.
Yep.
Okay, so that's a rookie quarterback. Let's talk about the rookie head coach. Because, listen, I gave this analogy earlier where I said on one end of the spectrum, you know, you have a Sean McVay who we'll see next week. That's excellence. And then on the other end, you have Matt Eberflus, who I think should be fired today. Gerard Mayo's somewhere in the middle. I feel like watching him go against a terrible head coach gives me confidence that he's not as terrible as a head coach as I thought. I mean, his team was more prepared. His team came out with the high energy, Keegs. This team has had several turns where they could have quit on Gerard Mayo, and they didn't. And I'm watching a team that has now quit on Matt Eberflus. So that's how I know they haven't quit on him, because I just saw what it looks like. I gave Gerard Mayo a lot of credit in this game. Did you?
Absolutely. And I've been – I don't want to say Team Gerard, because at the end of the day, it's a results-based business. So if he's not getting the job done, you got to make him move. But I've told you guys this. You got to give him time. First-year head coach – not only in this system, he's been in the system, but first year in this system as the head coach, but he's never had head coaching experience. He's never had coordinating experience on an official level.
Sure.
So the learning curve was going to be so much steeper than everybody else's. And expecting him to come in and not just match, but outproduce what Bill Belichick did with essentially the same roster, much better quarterback, but very similar roster, was asinine in the first place. I never expected it. But you look up, and now they're 3-7. They need one more win to match the win total from last year, and I think they can get that at the very least.
Yeah.
And a couple more to exceed it. And now you're looking at, all right, he's doing better than what Bill Belichick did. Obviously, the quarterback situation is a conversation you have to have, but he's doing what you would expect out of a first-year head coach with a bad roster and an organization that has had some real problems over the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been a defender of his since day one, just because I think he was put in such a bad situation as a whole. And now we're starting to see the progress, which is all I really wanted to see was, can you get better from day one to day 365?
Right.
That's when you're going to get evaluated. And if you got better, and if the team got better, then I'm all right with giving you another shot into your second season. I think right now we can say he deserves a chance to see this thing through, get another offseason under his belt, and see through the next year. You know, people might come back at me with a different opinion on that, but I'm a believer in Gerard Mayo as a leader. Whether or not he has the X's and O's capabilities that a Bill Belichick had on the defensive side of the football remains to be seen. But I think he can impact the team in a lot of different ways with the leadership and the family, the culture aspect of everything, something that you didn't see with the last regime. So, this was just a notch in my belt for Team Gerard Mayo, thinking that he deserves a shot to see this thing through.
Yeah, and you have a rookie quarterback making his fifth start.
Yep.
Only the fourth game he's finished all the way through because he was knocked out against the Jets. And you look back, and they've won 2 of their last 3 games. That's what's important. And you mentioned it. It was the same thing after the Jets game. Where's the consistency going to be? And that's what I wanted to see. We did not see it against Tennessee. Okay, you get back to just, your level, 0 against the Bears, who are a bad team.
The Bears.
The Rams, it's going to be hard. That's super talented, super well coached. I think there's going to be disparity there. But at the same time, we didn't see a Patriots team that just vomited all over themselves all over the game.
Right.
Put in a tough situation, like not a lot of time left on the clock before half, just 2 timeouts, they execute. Put in a tough situation in the second half, needed to get first downs, they pick them up, and they do just enough to win.
Yep.
Let's see what they do against the Rams. Hey, when you walk away from this game, Keagan, and you do watch Drake May against Caleb Williams, I know you said, I'm Team Caleb, everyone is. But right now at this point, who would you rather roll with, a Caleb Williams or a Drake May? I want to get a hot take out of you.
Yeah, I think it depends on the system, but I'll say as the New England Patriots, right? It's Foxborough Rush. This is the Patriots show. I'm rolling with Drake May because I think his style of football fits kind of what they want to do. Gerard Mayo said it throughout the offseason and the early part of the season. We want to run the football. We want to play good defense. We want to limit mistakes. But we also want to weaponize the offense where we have an opportunity to make the big play. I think Drake May does all of that. Caleb Williams erratic. And I don't think he meant it in a negative way. He was saying, the reason I was on defense today was because he's so erratic in the pocket. He can do so many different things. We needed an athlete out there to kind of match that. But there is an aspect of his game that is erratic. You saw a couple missed throws, I have an opportunity to get my feet set, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to try to use straight arm talent and whip it out to the side and make a play. That doesn't play in the NFL. And I think he'll learn that. But I think it takes a really good coaching staff, a really good offensive coordinator, quarterback coach to instill that into a young player. And I don't know if the Bears have that. I don't know if the Patriots have that. Right. I think what we've seen from Drake May is that he just naturally has the ability to make the correct adjustments that he needs to make. I am not a fan of the people that the Patriots put around Drake May, not on a personal level, but Alex Van Pelt doesn't have some great quarterback history.
Right.
The quarterback coach, not a great quarterback. Ben McAdoo, we all made fun of him for his tenure in New York.
And
not
that
a great
mustache.
history.
That mustache was awful, Keagan.
Yes, exactly. Not a great history overall, but especially developing quarterbacks. But we've seen progression from Drake May. So I'll take the guy who progressed throughout his rookie season over somebody who I still have a couple questions about whether he can just adjust to the NFL level. I think talent-wise he's there. I don't know about everything else.
Well,
it's even something of the intangibles, the leadership from Drake May, where I don't think Caleb Williams could have handled a situation this awful at this point. Where Drake May, he had to be that hero. Now Caleb Williams played hero ball at USC, but Drake May truly had to play hero ball at UNC. And even hear him after a game like this, of how he battled back from adversity. It's something minuscule, but this is what matters, especially where you have to be so mentally tough in this league. He's like, I was used to getting dunked on by my brothers in mini hoop basketball. And you know what? You got to move on, play the next play, and know how to bounce back and keep bringing the fight. But it's something like that where that does matter a lot, the mental makeup, and you cannot dispute that with Drake May. I think Caleb Williams in New England, it'd be really hard. We've seen Drake May overcome it so far. I don't want to see him keep overcoming it.
Yep.
To your point on what the nucleus is around him and what the structure is, but Drake May certainly is the right guy for the Patriots, and I think Caleb's going to be great too. We've seen from both of them what makes them great, the playmaking when they need them to. I do personally want to see both of them have better structure around them because I just want to see great quarterback play come out, especially for these two franchises.
Yeah.
T, you got anything for him?
Well, they're attached at the hip forever in history. We know that anyways. Keegs, my only thing is this, man. Go get your lanterns and your candles together. I know you're in the sticks in Vermont, clearly, so just build a fire there to keep you warm tonight, man. That's all. You're in my thoughts and prayers as you brave the weather out there in the woods, where clearly you are, Keegs.
Keith, you look like I'm walking to my car late at night after my restaurant shift. It's in the back of the parking lot, and you're walking towards me like, "Give me your keys. Give me your wallet right now."
I wish we could do a Nesson poll of
let's do
what
it.
does he look like?
Let's do it.
Does he look like a thug or does he look like a mountaineer? Because it's one or the other.
Those are I couldn't be the more opposite of both of those things. I've got a freaking keychain collection behind me. I'm the biggest nerd idiot. All I want to do is watch football and sit on my couch. But now all of a sudden I'm a hijacker and a woodsman. I don't know where this is coming from.
Who collects keychains? What's the origin of this keychain collection?
Somebody bought me a keychain once, and then I bought myself one, and then I was like, I want as many as possible. So I just started buying as many as possible.
George, let him go. He's got to go clean his musket.
Yeah, I like Keegan. I want him to still... I want him to still like me after this. Keegan, I'm going to let you go. This is the nicest thing I can do is say thank you and bye.
I was going to take the beanie off, but I didn't do my hair today. So I'm really stuck between a rock and a hard place.
At least put a hat on. You have hats. Just put a normal hat on and all this is avoided.
I wore this yesterday, so it was sitting on the desk, so I just threw it on before I signed on. It was apparently the biggest mistake of my life, putting on a beanie.
Dude, yes, it was. I will tell you this right now. The worst thing you ever did in your life was wear that beanie on this show with Travis and I.
If that's the worst thing I've ever did, then I'm doing pretty all right for myself.
Fair. That's a good one. You also chose to be an Ohio State fan. All right, he's Keagan Stiefel of Nesson.com. Make sure to catch his writing. He does a great job, Keegs. We appreciate you. Hey, look forward to talking draft with you later this week, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll see you guys on Wednesday.
See you,
yes,
Keegs.
Let's do it Wednesday, man. It is the spot. Hey, make sure if you want to email in to Boston Center, the chat at Nesson.com. Leave a voicemail, 617-790-0928. Leave your name, keep it anonymous, what have you. Just join the chat yourself. That is Boston's End of the Chat. New episodes dropping every Monday through Friday. And also head to Nesson's YouTube page as well to watch the episodes, not just listen. And make sure, so you can see Keegan's awful beanie. That's on Foxborough Rush. But head to Nesson's YouTube page to watch Boston Has Entered the Chat as well. A lot of good points raised by Keagan.
Yeah.
This is a team that showed up, man. Then that's what's important to me.
Yeah.
They showed up. They executed.
Yes.
They look competent on both
road.
sides of the ball.
Yeah.
On the road.
On the road.
In a packed out Soldier Field where not just the Bears should have been desperate, but the fans are desperate because that is the season that's about to spiral. They came in from the jump. They were more prepared from a coaching standpoint. They were more well executed from a player standpoint.
Yeah.
In the small matters, like the conversions on third down
Right.
and the good plays AVP is giving Drake May,
Yep.
to the touchdown play, the lone one of the day on what you do to set it up and what you do in execution, from your first round pick to your second round pick, to what you do right before half, to what this defense did on the line of scrimmage to dominate. They
That's
took
right.
away the run game. They refound it. And we finally saw the same starting five up front for the offensive line. I still have a lot of question marks about this coaching staff.
Sure.
But guess what? You have a really bad opponent in front of you. And what did the Patriots do? They dominated from start to finish. They won a game no one expected to. And they won it by playing their game. That's what winning football is, and that's what they did, Trav.
Well, it wasn't perfect either. You know, I mean, look, if we're picking nits here, you got to be better in the red zone in terms of converting some of those damn field goals you had all day to touchdowns, right? So there's still work to be done. I also think, you know, this is a reality of this team in a sense of, you know, look, like you're going to you should be able to beat bad teams.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's what this is. This is not a good enough team. I don't think. We'll see what happens. You got to play the games. I will pick against this team again next week against the Rams. I just will. You know, that's a team that's
smart.
Well, yeah, but that's a team that should be a playoff team, certainly competing for a playoff spot, and the Bears are not that. It's clear. The Bears are a bad football team that do not believe in their head coach, and they have underachieved all season. They had expectations on that team. They're not meeting any of them, okay? But the Patriots are not that low of level. This is a spirited, not talented, not the most talented group you've ever seen, but they are spirited. They are tough. They play hard for their head coach, and this is a reality. You should be able, and we see them in these. Some of them they've lost, George, but they're in these games against bad teams. Even the ones they've lost are in these games. But when they play elite teams, we see the difference.
Yeah.
So hey, you know, I mean, you go up and down the schedule. If you look at it from that standpoint, who are the bad teams left on the schedule?
Miami, Indianapolis.
That's how you got to look at things. Who are the bad teams left? Those are winnable games now. And we didn't think that, you know, a couple weeks ago.
Improvement is what you see week to week, what you see throughout a game, what you see in the growth. Improvement is if they go from 4 wins to 5 wins. Very simple.
Sure.
If they even go from 4 wins to 4 wins, if you win 4 games, and you've had a rookie quarterback starting since week 6,
you have life.
Exactly.
Those 4 wins last season were lifeless.
Yeah.
This team, if you win 4 this season, there's life there. There's hope there. There's optimism.
That's what's important as this team builds up and as they keep moving forward as well.
Yeah.
And even we see in the execution today, like Kayshon Boutte, timely catches, especially deep downfield. But it was a Austin Hooper, 3 catches, 64 yards. Pop Douglas, 4 for 50. Boutte, 4 for 47. Hunter Henry used more as like a decoy piece and a guy that was baiting defenses. So then Austin Hooper steps up with some big production. Like, it's key spots like that. It's big in the execution to see the game plan. And then you see that a Bears team that was, as a team, 1 for 14 on third down. I want to make sure I get that number right.
Okay.
Yeah, 1 for 14 on third down. I went back and checked. 10 of their third downs were third and longs. And that's a defense showing up on first and second down and winning in those spots. That's a team that's stopping the run. Now, again, 4 backup offensive linemen playing for the Bears today. And with an offense and with the coaching staff, I think it was important. We asked Alex Brown last week, Trav.
That's right.
Is this a coaching staff that won't outsmart themselves? And they did.
Yeah.
And you cannot do that. You cannot do that.
He called that.
You won't get a coaching staff that will overthink it in Sean McVay. If Kyron Williams is having a day, Kyron Williams will continue to have a day. With the Blake Corum to spell him too. If it's Stafford through the air with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua just killing you piece by piece, play by play, they will stick with that.
Yep.
This is a bad team. This is a bad coaching staff. One that we could see all different names by the end of the week. I think that's what the Bears should do.
Yeah.
You know, the history of the Bears, they've never fired a head coach midseason, Trav.
Well,
but there's a first for everything.
Yeah, that's about to change.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been some bad teams with this Bears franchise, so I'm actually surprised by that stat. But, yeah, they will make history here. This guy's canned. He's out of there. This team's quit on him, and they don't have a choice, I think.
This was a 3-win team Matt Eberflus's first year.
That's right.
7-win team his second year. Obviously, they get the first-round pick because of the DJ Moore trade.
Right.
When the Panthers wanted to move up and take Bryce Young as well. That's really what it was. Number one overall pick.
That's right.
In that 3-14 year. They've had player-only meetings, captain-only meetings, offensive meetings with Shane Waldron, team meetings as a whole calling out how bad they are. It's a team that's not competent, not smart, not disciplined at all.
They suck.
And they've quit.
Yep.
And you see the dejection on their bench.
Yep.
Matt Eberflus, good D coordinator, not a good head coach. Shane Waldron, okay offensive coordinator, but you need a good head coach to cover up for his deficiencies, and he's not there. The whole structure of what they have right now in Chicago is really bad. And what we've seen the flashes from Caleb when that offense was in check, they were more balanced, but leaning more towards a run. But Caleb's still putting up good numbers. As it is the same thing on why the frustrations I have with Gerard Mayo being the head coach, same thing should be for Chicago fans, and it definitely is with Eberflus as a head coach. Where
it's worse.
This roster with a good offensive line, they didn't have their starters, especially at tackle this week.
Yeah.
Good receivers, good quarterback, good defense.
Yeah.
You are wasting a crucial year in a guy that is a day one starter in Caleb Williams.
Right.
Yes,
no
a rookie.
Excuses. Yep.
But a day one starter, you absolutely pissed that opportunity away of year one.
Yep.
You cannot waste the next 3 years when he's under cost control before they start getting to negotiations of an extension and that fifth-year option.
No, you're absolutely right. And you know what? What a great teachable moment for Gerard Mayo right now. I mean, his shack doesn't stink right now in that locker room. It does not stink, brother. Like, I mean, hey, guys, all you got to say is look on that other sideline. You got guys yelling at each other. Look in the stands. Fans, lifeless, soul left their body watching this offense.
Yeah.
I mean, what opportunity for Gerard Mayo to just take this moment and say, guys, we got to keep believing in one another, you know? And his team can literally see that because that other team, that Bears team, they don't give a damn about one another. They don't.
Yeah, it's a lot of quit, and you just see when it can go sideways.
Yep.
What can happen. Hey, make sure to check out the latest episode of Foxborough Rush. I know you're listening to it now, but we have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. As Keagan said before he left, Wednesday editions are the fun ones. We talk about the draft. Friday editions, we have Michael Lombardi, former NFL exec, joining the show as well. That's Foxborough Rush, wherever you get your podcast. So, Trav, with the win, Patriots, they entered the week picking number one overall. We had a lot of fun thinking about the possibilities with that.
Loving that.
3-7 Patriots, that's 7th overall.
See what happens when you win.
It's not just, and it's not number one overall, it's the top 3 picks in the draft could all become quarterback picks, especially 1 and 2 to me are the big ones. It's Shedeur Sanders, it's Cam Ward, and even if you look at pick number 3, that's Travis Hunter. Yeah. Where teams will want you either get a really good quarterback that's pro ready, or you get someone that can be elite on either side of the ball, really good corner, or an elite playmaker, which we know is needed.
That's right.
Picking 7, it still keeps you in the spot.
You can get a lineman
of taking a Kelvin Banks, like it should. Now, as you look as it lays out, Miami at 5, they need offensive line.
Yeah.
Do they go Will Campbell? Maybe they do over Kelvin Banks. We'd see.
Maybe.
And Will Campbell is projected as a guard at the next level by a lot. You don't want a guard if you're picking 7th overall. The one thing I give the Pats, if they finish with a top 3 pick, they can trade back and get to 7, but accrue more first-round picks, and that's what's important compared to the team that's at 7 and is just at 7.
Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons to winning games if you're the Patriots, right? Like, I'm all about the cons. I don't want to pick 7. I want to pick number 1, okay? And I think this team is bad enough to get you there. Well, it just so happened that the Bears are at rock bottom right now for their franchise. But, you know, listen, I don't want to see – I'm just going to tell you flat out. I don't want to see a 5 or 6 win Patriot season. This team's not that damn good. They need – a higher draft pick.
Yeah.
Now, if it's not number one, okay, fine. If you're telling me they're not the worst team, fine. But at the same time, I do understand the pros of winning right now, if we're going to go pros and cons, because obviously we just talked about it. You don't want your team to give up on your coach. And you and everyone else tells me that Gerard Mayo ain't getting fired, okay? So if this guy's going to be here, you need your team, your franchise needs to believe in that man leading you, okay?
Yeah.
And that's what winning does. Winning creates that. I also think it sends a message to other players because you got mad money to burn, baby. So you're sending that message to other players. Hey, come to New England. It is not an S show there. You know, their head coach has that program moving in the right direction. That young quarterback, Drake May, has that program moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
And they have buku bucks to spend.
A lot of cap space.
And there's chowder and lobster rolls. I'm going there. That's what you want. And that's what winning does. So I understand that, but I'm greedy. I mean, I want a top 3 pick so that you can trade back because you're right. All these teams, I mean, there's so much bad quarterback play in this league, brother.
Yeah.
And all these bad teams need one. So if you can get in that top 3, I mean, you can move heaven and earth. You can get all kinds of assets to move back, get your linemen, and then and have more picks to play with. So that's what I hope happens. But unfortunately, I'll be honest with you, George, I think moving forward, I think this team's going to get a couple more wins and ruin all that. I do.
I think it's one more. I think it's Colts. Dome team coming outdoors, late game. That's right before the bye, which is tough.
Yeah.
And again, it's what do you get over the next 2 games? That's a loss against the Rams, in my opinion.
Right.
How do they show up at Miami, down in Miami, with an offense that can score a ton? Can you keep up?
I don't know.
That home game, December 1st, right before the bye for the Colts, that's the big one. That's the one to me is the big one. Because what happens to them there? And you think about a team where, say, the first round holds up as it is.
Sure.
And they have a top 3 pick and they can trade back, still get their offensive tackle. But they accrue more first rounders. Can you trade back into the first? Because this Patriots team, the needs are offensive tackle, wide receiver, edge, corner. Like, let's start there.
Who do you want to trade back in for, though?
Now, this is where it can get interesting, where if you have multiple firsts, so you'd trade back to get the 7th pick this year, but say you get a future first. You have 2 firsts next year.
Okay.
Take that future first, trade back into this year's first, and you have to compile it and combine, say, a 3rd-round pick. But if you get a JT Tuamaloa, the edge rusher out of Ohio State, who's a pro-ready guy, because they need guys on the edge, then all of a sudden you have a Keon White, JT, and a Christian Barmore back healthy. And you still have your 2nd-round pick, and you get a Trey Harris out of Ole Miss. Bing, bang, boom. Those are 3 day 1 guys. You have a really good tackle, really good edge rusher, and you have a good who would be a wide receiver 1 for your offense. And there still is, with all the cap space they have, let's see what they do in free agency. But that's the flexibility they give themselves, where they can add guys now through free agency, but they can also add cost control contracts at really key positions where it's needed. So that's where they have all this flexibility, all this variance. Man, you like Isaiah Bond out of Texas. He's 6 foot 180. You put some weight on him and he checks off the Elliott Wolf box. That's a guy that hits at every level. Why does it have to be edge? Why can't it be an Isaiah Bond? You get another ready receiver. He's not big, but he's quick and he's explosive. We saw him show up for Texas against Florida as well. That's what's big, Trav, is that if they finish with that top 3 pick and they trade back and get a tackle, it's more of they need a lot of draft picks because of past draft failures, and they need to fix now. And that's what it gives them.
Well, we're also assuming that they take offensive line in this draft. Let's think about this for a second. I don't know the free agent class, but if there's a couple,
Let me see, I'll pull it up
if
quick
there's
for
a
you.
couple tackles out there, and you just blow the budget and go get them in free agency, then I think your draft can be more creative. I mean, I know people roll their eyes when I say this. I've said this before. You know, if you can go out in free agency, George, and address some of these areas of need, most notably the offensive line, and you are in a draft where now you are, like the good teams do, looking to take best player available, okay? And a Travis Hunter's on the board or an Ashton Genty, depending where you are in that first round, obviously you and I both
Do not
subscribe
go
to you
janky.
don't take a running back top 10.
Especially
But
this team.
But if you trade back and you're I don't know, wherever you feel comfortable taking him back in the first round, because he's a first round grade, that's a game changing back that you could get in here. So we're both assuming that it's going to be an offensive line draft pick in the first round, but that's not necessarily the case. If they can get a couple guys in here in free agency, maybe you don't have that urgency to take that. You could take it later for depth, but you may not need to take a tackle, top 5 or whatever. Yeah. You may have a little more creativity there.
What would have been big is the guys that they possibly could have got, like a Chris Godwin was going to be a free agent. Yeah. Then he tore up his leg.
Well, I'm speaking to the offensive line free agents.
It's Ronnie Staley is going to be a free agent. He's over 30 years old. Who knows how good. Older. And I think the Ravens should bring him back.
You would think.
The key free agent names, just on the list, Tyron Smith, he's old. You do not want to bank on him. And that's a thing, too, of if Kelvin Banks can be a cornerstone guy of the franchise and you hit on him, that's what's huge. And I think he can be that at the next level. Over 300 pass block snaps, just 3 pressures and 1 sack allowed. And the hit rate at the top of the draft on a tackle is a lot higher than a wide receiver.
Sure.
And keep this in mind of, again, we have to see what the room looks like and what the leadership is.
Yep.
A Deontay Johnson is going to be a free agent. To me, I'm never going to back off the T. Higgins pursuit.
Yeah.
6'4", big body receiver, big catch radius, really good. Yeah, is he a wide receiver 1 everywhere? No. But if you get a bunch of good receivers and you have a complimentary room, he's a wide receiver 1 for you.
Hey, yeah, bro. Him not having a good season is the best thing to happen to the Patriots, because he's going to want to go to the market, still demand number 1 money, and other teams are going to say, screw you, we ain't giving you that. And the Patriots are desperate enough to do it.
There's a lot there. Man, if they just do a prove-it deal with an Amari Cooper, as he's a rental for Buffalo, but they need more. They need long-term, and that's what a T. Higgins can be, someone at his age. Mm-hmm. And then, again, you go get a Trey Harris in the draft. You get a Alec Oyomanor out of Stanford. I'm very in between on him. But it's these complementary pieces. Tackle, wide receiver, edge should still be the priority. They're going to need running backs too, but we would see who would be out there as well. That is the thing of you hit free agency, then you have the draft, and you go from there. There's a lot of flexibility for what they can work with. I think that's what's important.
It's a beautiful flexibility to have, because you know what you're not looking for? A quarterback. The football gods have shown favor to the New England Patriots. When you're talking all the stuff you're talking, trenches, skill position guys,
you never have to go.
You can make it happen. You can make it happen. 1 off season, if you get everything right, can change it all. But when you are searching for that quarterback, brother, I imagine it's like trying to find true love, man. I mean, it feels like you're doing it for a lifetime.
Yeah.
Some people never get it, right? That's how it is trying to find a franchise quarterback. And I'll be doggone if the Patriots got it right, because this kid Drake May is the truth.
He is, man. I believe in him all the way. Look.
Everything else is easier then, George.
The pros are you learn how to win, builds confidence, builds a culture. The cons are for a team that needs a correction in so many spots. They need a high draft pick. Yep. To make sure they get the tackle they want. You want whatever tackle you want, you need that.
You got to get
because
the
offensive line's that bad. And B, to get the assets, because it takes draft, it takes free agency, where we know they're going to have the cap space to capitalize on what they have Drake May at quarterback.
That's right.
He's Travis Thomas. I'm George Balekji. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day with Foxborough Rush. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Wherever you get your podcast, please head over Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. Like, subscribe, download, rate, review. Go to Nesson's YouTube page as well and hit the subscribe button there. I'm GB. He's Double T. We'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.